Hello and welcome guys, welcome to my ride. Today we're going to review a Highside Crash which happened to a friend of mine who was on a tour with me through the entire country Austria last year. We were riding on a mountain pass when the crash happened, and we were also both recording on our GoPro so we can see multiple angles of the crash. So let's take a look at the crash footage. But before I show you the crash, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like my videos. This helps out the channel really much and is massively appreciated. So as you can see, it looked pretty bad. Especially because my friend Marcus stayed at the ground and wasn't able to stand up initially. But let's break it down from the start to find the reason of the crash and find out what to do for first aid in such a situation. So it was a sunny day at 25 degrees Celsius, which is 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you can see, the road isn't in the best condition, but is really not that bad. The area around was pretty stunning and we were connected via a communication system and talked about the insane scenery around us. Meanwhile, I started, especially in the little turns, to feel a little bit uncomfortable with the feeling of my front tire. Maybe I should have told Marcus what I was feeling at this moment. So we kept riding and then a tight turn came up in front of us. We can see Marcus riding in the shaded area at the exit of the turn. And when we take a closer look, you can see something like dust coming off the ground. When we go back a little bit earlier, the insecure feeling of my front tire was probably sand or something else. So I think there was a bunch of things like sand lying in the shaded area of the corner. Probably because of the high contrast situation, Marcus wasn't able to see the sand over there. And now the unavoidable thing happened. The rear tire slipped away and immediately caught up grip again. Because of the physical forces which result in such fast movements, Marcus wasn't able to hold himself onto the bike and dropped off. To be honest, he got pretty lucky. Because I don't want to imagine what could have happened when oncoming traffic would have been in his flying path. Another thing we should think about is why I made it through the corner and Marcus didn't. First of all, my bike is brand new and got traction control, which Marcus didn't. But I think another reason is the initial cornering speed. When you look at the initial speed, I was riding with 34 km an hour, which is 21 miles an hour. When we look at the footage of Marcus, he drove with 43 km an hour, which is equivalent to 27 miles an hour. But at the end, it's really hard to say if I would have made it through the corner, because when I saw the crash I reduced the speed immediately and wasn't riding through the same shaded area as Marcus did. So let's get to the first aid review and what I thought at the first moment. Another info for you at this point is that I worked 3 years as a paramedic in the country I live in. So those were the first thoughts I've had when I've seen Marcus crashing and staying on the ground. The body position he was in told me a few things. First of all, I was sure that he was still conscious, because he still had a muscular tension remaining in such a position. We were also connected with our communication system, so I heard that he's still breathing, but the breathing was pretty heavily. So this was it with the good news. Some other things which initially caught up my mind was that he's still in this position because of several reasons. He had some injuries in his upper body and he's covering the injured body part with his body positioning. This would be a usual behavior in such a situation. The second thing which came up my mind was a broken wrist and maybe other bones, and that was the reason he was not able to stand up. So what to do now? The number one thing to do when you arrive at the crash is to ensure your own safety. When something happens to you, there is nobody left that can help. So I decided to place my bike on the lane for the oncoming traffic so they reduce the speed and don't crash into us. The other thing I did is to place my helmet at the ground, which is an international sign for danger. So be aware of that when you see a helmet on the ground. When I've done that, I was able to see that Marcus already stood up from the ground, looking at his damaged bike. I asked him if everything is okay, but he was just asking me to help him pick up his bike from the ground. So we picked it up and were riding to the next parking lot to check if Marcus is okay and get out of the dangerous place we were in as fast as possible. Because we were connected via Bluetooth, Marcus already told me that he's okay in general. The only thing is that his wrist hurts and the tank from his bike has a bump in it. Luckily, nothing from the things above had happened and Marcus only had a financial damage. Another thing I want to point out here is that he wore full gear all the time. So I think that was one of the main reasons he wasn't injured seriously. I hope you learned something out of this situation, because this is the reason I'm showing this to you guys. So always wear your gear and be careful when you're riding on your bike. As you can see, even a little shaded area could get your biggest enemy as a rider. Now go out, stay safe, ride your ride. I hope I'll see you again next Sunday. Goodbye.